Right. Hi, guys. Thanks again for tuning into Clickcast. It's Paul Cunningham. We're just going to go over a few questions with a new talented photographer we found. So we're going to be delving in and just asking what makes him click as a photographer, and just ask a few quick questions. What gets some of these images he gets? Some great, stunning, colourful images of close-up of insects, etc. And if you love macro photography, be sure to check David Hamilton's or Wee Mad Beastie, as he's known. Yeah, so we're going to get on to it now. Firstly, what I'm going to do is going to introduce David. Hiya, David.
How we doing?
Hi, thanks for coming on the channel. How did you get to the point where you wanted to start to do macro photography?
Yeah,
Just tell me more about
so
yourself and how you got to that.
so I'll give you a wee bit of background. I have been a photographer for roughly about 20 odd years, predominantly landscape, weddings, just general photography. I'd always been into it. Probably not as much of a passion as what it is at the moment. During
Hmm.
lockdown, obviously I had lots and lots of equipment. I seen an article on how to convert your existing equipment on the cheap. So I bought a Rainox, I bought a couple of extension tubes and made a cheap um, diffuser. Went over in my local park, which is literally 50 yards away, and that's where I shoot 99% of
Yeah,
my stuff. Glasgow in Rockhill Park.
nice.
Went over, gave it a try, and it really started to kind of bug me that I couldn't get the same sort of image quality and the same lighting as everyone else was getting. So I just kind of stuck at it and seeing more and more of the insects. That's what kind of inspired me. I was like, never, never took any interest in macro previously, and then just seeing the detail close up and the sort of the variance you get in all the insects. So from there, I just every single day, literally every single day, trying to
Yeah,
get better. Invested in some better kit, lens, good diffuser, etc. And it just kind of took off from there. Um, the name We Mad Beasties, one of my friends had said to me one day, you know, when I thought, what was it, those We Mad Beasties again? I thought, you know what, that's a fantastic, good
yeah,
name.
that's good.
And you know what, it's done me well because the name is actually one of the things that a lot of people reach out and say, I love that name.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's
And I,
massively helped. And from there, it's just taken off massively. I've met loads of guys from all over the world, been away to a lot of far distant places, shot with some really, really good, talented photographers.
right.
Some really good guys in Scotland, Stephen being one of them. Met him a couple of times through in Edinburgh, but their secret spot that seems to have everything all year round for some reason.
Yeah,
Whereas over in Glasgow, that's not the case. That's a
brilliant.
bit of background.
The name's amazing. I think if anybody who's going to put themselves out there regards to being a macro photographer, that really does get to the point, and it's quite a quirky name as well. I like it, especially in Scotland.
Yeah.
When Stevie told me the name, I was like, that's stuck in my head. And I think it was Stevie's idea to get you on, and I liked it as well because I'd done a lot of interview with Stevie about his macro photography, and he, like yourself, he's passionate and he enjoys getting out by himself and photographing insects. One of the things I just wanted to look at your work, and I was like, what comes to my mind with your work is I think of the colour aspect and the images, and they're like, it's amazing detail and colour you've got there. Um, Regards to yourself, I mean, where did I mean, you said you've done landscape photography, etc., before you found your home in photography doing macro. Was it something that came accidentally, or do you feel that maybe is it something just maybe you saw through YouTube, or did you actually just go out and just try it yourself for the sake of
Yeah,
trying?
I mean, I was a self photographer previously. I enjoy the aspect of just trying to learn yourself,
Yeah, yeah,
seeing the result that someone else can get, and just trying to figure out how they've actually done it. So initially, I mean, the most important thing that I would say personally in macro photography is the light, it's the diffusion. That's 100%.
yeah,
You can have a cheap lens, you can have a cheap camera, you can have cheap everything, but if you've got good light and good diffusion, you can make a good image.
yeah, yeah. I got that impression as well. I mean, I was looking at a few things on on your site, and yeah, I mean, your images stand out in the newsfeed. If you're looking at Instagram, and you instantaneously your images coming up because you've got that kind of color.
Yep.
It's very rich color, and it just draws your eye. It just draws your eye to the newsfeed. Um, One of the questions I was going to ask you, what's your, I mean, regards to best options for tilt. shift to macro photography. What's your best option? What do you enjoy doing that stuff, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, personally for me, it was I've never been so ingrained and so passionate about getting out every single day. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm one of the few photographers who posts every single day, and that's one of the things that I've always
yeah,
tried to do from when I started. And doing macro here, that's actually quite hard to do.
yeah.
And
Absolutely. I've tried it. I can't do it.
constantly. But I've always tried to maintain that like at post every single day if possible.
Yeah,
I think there's only been maybe 3 or 4 days in the last 4 years that I've missed. Um, and I do try not to do a lot of editing as well. I keep my editing to a very minimum if possible.
right.
Predominantly, I would focus more on composition.
Yeah,
That's
you
kind
can
of
see
where
that. You can see that. Yeah,
that's where I would come from. There is times where I'll do the super close up stacks, um, but very occasionally.
that's good. That's really good. I mean, guys. I mean, I'm going to go to Stevie first, since he's probably chomping at the bit to ask you a few questions. Stevie, when you go, my man.
Just one picture a day, aye? Are you joking me?
Yes,
See, Mad Beasties, Davy Boy is actually known for posting so many photos. I mean, come on. I've been sat there, how many times have you apologised to people and went,
well, that is. I find another folder and then start putting more out.
But you're right. You're right. One photo. I always try and do like 3 photos, 2 photos a day, and just leave it at that, because
Yep.
Scottish photographers, unless you're like going abroad like you do, because you can people run about the world. Scottish photographers have got to keep it in their bag.
Yes, very, very true.
Yeah.
So what's the future for you, Dave?
Sorry.
What's the future for you?
So I don't know if you've seen on my story today. I just had
Yeah.
a series released that I helped on from Disney Plus and National Geographic, called A
All
Real
right.
Bug's Life. So I did some stills work for them.
Oh,
Uh,
brilliant.
got
That's
a Blue Peter episode coming out on the 27th.
yeah.
So couple of TV things in the pipeline.
That's
Next
massive.
year, March off to Sumatra. Where else am I going? Italy, Portugal, Thailand, and somewhere else. So
Really?
a good
That
few
is
trips.
really impressive. Yeah.
Like so,
Yeah.
it takes you about, which is great. Trying to create some additional opportunities off the back of it just being a hobby is the main thing. Because I work from home and it's pretty
Yeah.
fun. So getting out and about doing this is a massive thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, in regards to when you like set up a shot, what was it you're looking for in your, not so much composition, but what was it you're looking? What makes a shot for a wee Mad Beastie in regards to
So it's
to get up
it's
there?
actually hard to describe the way that I shoot. I'm exceptionally quick in the way that I shoot. I'll see something and I'll just go, right, I figure out what for that particular scenario is going to look, going to emphasise the insect
Yeah.
to the best. And it depends what you're shooting, really. Some insects look phenomenal side on, top down, with wings out, face on. It's just really situational dependent.
Yeah.
And need to be quick in taking them. So that's why a lot of my stuff is single shots.
Yeah, they're
Like
nice. They're good shots. I really do enjoy looking at the newsfeed. And since we done this channel, I mean, I just got in touch with a few macro photographers after
mhm,
talking to Stevie. But your work predominantly just comes up in the newsfeed, and you're instantaneously just dragged your eye with the colour, everything, all the qualities you put to your image. Glads, do you have any questions at all?
Hi, what I was going to ask was, what's your favourite species and where's your favourite place to travel in the world to take photos of macro?
I'd say the best place I've been so far has been Malaysia. It was just incredible. Literally, straight off the plane, first bush that we seen, you just couldn't even walk past it because there was just that many insects on it, that variety, which for us is it's like a kid in a sweetie shop, because I can go to the park and find a couple of species sometimes a week. It's very hard to find stuff in Scotland.
Yeah.
My favourite, probably the really, really small metallic cackled wasps are one of the favourite species. very hard to shoot, very hard to see, in fact, and I've got bad eyesight. I'd say my most kind of popular insect has been ladybirds, though. That's one of the things that I'm known for, is taking a lot of shots of ladybirds, because they're plentiful where I am. So I tried to perfect the art of taking a photo of ladybirds, especially single shots of them. They just look fantastic.
Cool.
Brilliant. That's really good. I was quite impressed with the fact that you've photographed for the Joe, national thing. That's pretty impressive. It's
Yeah.
quite a big film.
Yeah, I mean that was literally today. So I did that a year ago. So I've been dying to say something, but I signed an NDA and couldn't say anything. Me and a fellow photographer who I shoot with quite often, Bird Ninja, Jamie. So yeah, it's been great to actually be able to say something about it. But
Do you go out with other people, or do you just go out on your own shooting?
yeah, I mean, in the UK, there's a few of us who have been away quite a few times. Bird Ninja, Macro Barry Morey, Paul's Natural World, Luke Chambers, Jason Osborne, and Martin Macro. We're the ones that meet up mostly. So we've been down to Minsmere, Dorset. I don't know where we're going next year, potentially going to take it abroad for a sort of annual meet up. But I have met people from America, Dubai, Singapore, Malaysia, all over. We're finally getting to meet a guy who makes everyone's macro photos look good. Cygnus Tech, Brendan, who makes the diffuser that most of us use. So finally get to meet him in March on the Sumatra trip. Spoke to him from practically day one. One of the main guys in the macro community. Good friend.
That's
Cool.
lovely. That's pretty nice.
It is good to get like a community in photography when it comes to that as well. I think all aspects of photography is like that as well. Landscape photography, I've got like a few guys I go out with a photo jaunt with them, and it's good to get that contact. You learn off each other, don't you? You kind of
absolutely. I mean, the macro community as a whole is really, really supportive.
Yeah,
that's one thing that people who start it up, kind of the feedback they always give. You can start off at any level, reach out to anyone, and they'll generally always kind of give you pointers on how to do things, settings. It's a really, really, really supportive community, and it's a genre of photography that is massively taken off in the last couple of years. And I started it. I'm not saying it was I don't know the word they use that to say. It wasn't a particularly well looked upon genre compared to sports or fashion or birding. Now it's massively taken off. It's getting a lot more publicity, a lot more people taking up. And the good thing is it's cheap to do, and you don't need a good location. You can literally go into your back garden and find millions of stuff. I mean, I think I've catalogued like 1,000 species in a city centre park. So urban macro is kind of my thing. That's what I do.
You journal the species that you take as well, the photos of. Do you journal it as well with the dates and times?
I try my best to. There's a lot of work keeping up with social media and as well. But yeah, do my best.
And have you ever taken photos of quite rare species that
I had one confirmed this year, which is only the 5th sighting in the UK and only sighting in Scotland. A very, very small blue wasp, which has almost got like a hammerhead. I think I've included it in that folder that I sent you.
Yeah, we'll put that up just now as we're talking. But
that particular one, full UK. I think it's 5. So Glasgow University Entomology Department confirmed that that's the only sighting in Scotland for that particular one. Also had a couple of others that are really, really quite rare. But you do get them if you're out as much as myself, which is pretty much. I used to go every lunchtime. Been a bit more lax this season, just due to the job being a wee bit more hands-on.
Yeah. One of the questions I've got is what kind of, just for mainly the novice, what kind of flash should a novice use to do macro photography?
Yeah, I mean the equipment I use is Olympus or OM Systems, it's called now. But most macro photographers will use a brand of flash called the Godox, which is a Chinese brand, exceptionally cheap. The one I started off on The lithium version, which is the one that I'd recommend, so you can stack if you want to. That's like £120, which is fairly cheap. There is a larger version than that. If you want to go to like a 90mm lens, you need that extra power. But for someone starting out, the 60mm is more than adequate, which is what I use. Micro Four Thirds in terms of the sensor is the best to go for macro. 100%.
Interesting. Yeah.
It's the system to use for macro. I know that counterintuitive. If you're a landscape photographer, you want more resolution, you're going for full frame, etc. But for closer objects, Micro Four Thirds is the one.
Yeah, cool. I mean, one of the things like I started doing macro photography, just mainly photographing ferns, close up of fungi and things like that. The things that people start off with, maybe. I do woodland photography, so I kind of try to keep more of like in the woodlands. But when I seen Stevie doing his stuff and interviewed him, and especially your stuff, looking at him, like it's amazing. It's really it's something I'll probably try, to integrate into my photography as well. And it's quite inspiring seeing guys like yourself doing it. Stevie, when you start yourself, sorry.
Once you start, you can't stop.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's like anything, isn't it? It's when you get like that new genre of photography. Yeah, come on. You get that. You remember that first image you get, and you're like, it's a blinder. You pull it off, and you stick it in social media, and people love it. And then you try to recapture that. It takes a while, and it comes along slowly but surely. But Stevie, yourself, I mean, you guys are pretty much macro, of course. Stevie, do you actually go out with other guys as well and do macro? Other guys from YouTube, or not YouTube, but Instagram or anything like that?
Nah, Instagram. If they're quite local to me, well, Dave's no. I still need to get across to his side of the country. But you know, it's like going from Iceland to Malaysia, the east side to the west side. You know, as far as concerned, that's what I'm going to say. But I would say, I've just recently I was at Emily Macro Scotland, who actually took workshop by Dave, and everybody says the exact same thing about David, and I'm not just bigging you up, because I don't have to big you up. You're a pal. You're a pure gentleman.
Your photos do the talking, Dave, as well. I think you work as a talking. There's a lot of guys who actually go and do photography and they do a lot of like promotional work, but your images do the talking. I don't see that about photography because the colour just drags my eye every time I see it in the news feeds, and I'm glad I've got onto your Instagram as well, so I'm quite happy with that. Glad. What about yourself? I mean, you're kind of street photographer, and of course that's like it's a million miles away from macro. I mean, do you find anything fascinating that you would probably want to try and just do that kind of aspect of photography, and just maybe use your own like techniques as you do as of course as a street photographer, and then try.
I'd love to. Yeah. We've got foxes in our garden who are always up to mischief. We've got like a little family, and and I've got an actual video CCTV camera, and I've seen them actually find ways to get into the bins. They're quite clever, actually. And I keep thinking I should put like a little camera out there just to track them.
More of a wildlife as opposed to macro.
Yeah, I've always been fascinated by wildlife, and not just wildlife, also macro too. Yeah. Oh, well, but macro's quite difficult though, because I've done a bit of macro in my garden during lockdown. And because I bought myself a macro lens, and I have to say it's actually quite difficult, to get the right focus, the right range. It's a real art form, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I found it fairly difficult to start off with because I tried to figure everything out on my own. But you can teach someone how to do it very quickly. There's a couple of things that you'll get wrong right away. Lighting being one of them. I started off with a macro lens 9 years ago. I got one, bought one from an old Sony camera at that point, and tried it a couple of times. I thought, do you know what, I can't do this, and just sold it right away. It wasn't until lockdown that I took it back up and then actually discovered how to actually do it properly. The flashes actually what freezes the image, which is the thing that a lot of people don't get.
So the flash actually gives it more colour and more punch.
Yeah, it does a couple of things. It gives it a nice diffused, even light, so you don't get hot spots. But that's what actually freezes the image itself.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
That's what's pleasing.
And when you saying, yeah, go on.
Well, you can have what I've learned, and David's the exact same, and I kind of all the guys at the top of their game have realised that it's the diffusion and light that is the mace that you can have a cheap, like David said, you can have a cheap camera, a cheap lens, but if you get your lighting and your settings correct, you're going to get that. Every macro lens is crisp. There's no many macro lenses that aren't. But every macro lens is crisp and sharp, and if you can't get that, it's the lighting settings. That's like a boom moment in your head. Am I right, David?
Absolutely.
Do you shoot prime, David? Do you use prime for your lenses, or is it just like teleport lenses you use?
No, so I use a specific macro specific lens.
Yeah, got you. Right.
So, I use two. I've got a 60mm macro, and I also use an enhancement for that. Vanox is like an extra magnifying glass to stay at the closer. And I've also got the new 90mm.
Nice.
Stephen's got the 30, which I'm dying to use at one point. It's fantastic, really good compositional images with that.
Yeah, I bought a macro lens with the Sigma one.
Yeah.
And it was and I tried it during lockdown. I thought it's really good, but it's very it's manual focus. There's no autofocus, and it's quite difficult. So I remember I had to move myself in and out just to get the right range to take the photo.
Because you're taking something so small as well, any movement, I mean, you need to brace yourself on something. Which becomes a bit of an art form.
Breathe in. Breathe in, take the shot.
Yeah, I mean, I've nearly passed out on numerous occasions. I'm sure you have.
Yeah.
Especially like taking something like a spider in a web, and you literally can't move. You're lying down underneath it, and you're having to hold your breath for extended periods of time. Yeah, it's quite hard to get back up.
Yeah, I mean, liking this because this channel was meant to be for like people who are looking to learn as well, as opposed to just actually watching guys. We're talking to guys and people have heard of you, obviously, on Instagram, etc. I did see that video you sent as well, regards to you on STV, and you done a little clip there with them. How long were you on the show for? Was it a good 10, 20 minutes?
I mean, it felt like forever. I've never been on television before. I think but it was live. I didn't know what they were going to ask either, so it was slightly daunting. But it was a good experience.
You're quite composed, considering it's live as well. You're okay with it. Me and Glads are kind of a wee bit away from that kind of style of photography, but we do enjoy it. Stevie, just going back to the point you were talking about, you getting obviously your new lens you got. What was it again you got? Your macro lens?
300. No,
300, right, okay.
No, Paul. It was the 30. But I've had that for a while.
Oh, like 30, right, I got you. I was going to say 300, right. So do you think, because me, I'm a novice when it comes to macro photography, I'm going to talk to you like I'm a divvy as I am. If I was using a teleport lens, if I was using a prime lens, because when I do landscape photography, I've got like prime lenses, mainly aperture 1.8, 2.8 as we love to shoot at. Do you think using a prime lens and you get a dedicated macro lens, I see that quite a lot. Does it make a hell of a difference, you think, regards to taking the pictures?
Well, yeah, because it's not just the lens itself, but how close you can actually get. So even with a prime lens,
back and forth, and
even with a prime lens, you can still, like with our cameras, with mine the days where we use Olympus, the autofocus is that good on them. I believe Dave's used the OM1, so the OM1's even better than my EM1X, and even better than what we used to use. But they're still sublime, and autofocus helps you for especially what Dave does, but because you can fine point your stacking as you go past to get the insect as many spots as you can.
Yeah,
and this is what I was going to ask you both of you as well, especially David. Do you tend to use manual more when you're actually focusing?
Well, now I use a slight combination of both. For single shots, I'll always use autofocus because you can pinpoint the exact spot that you want, which is always on the eye. As long as the eye's in focus, you can have a good amount of depth of field fall off at the back. and the Olympus, as Stephen says, it's that good that you can focus really, really quickly. Insects are notoriously fast moving as well, so you want to be able to just take enemies like that, or it's gone. For stacking, I've actually started to use manual focus, because what you'll do is you'll find a point just in front of the insect itself, and then take shots all the way back, and that's what you splice together to make up that stack image.
Yeah, it's just
so how many images do you stack then?
Just depends. I mean, I've done up to like 80, 90.
Yeah, I've heard about
30 is probably enough.
I'll give you a proper question for a macro photographer to another. What's your most you've ever done in camera stack using software?
15.
I'm impressed. I've
15.
done 22. I think 22 is the best I've ever done.
Nice.
But that wasn't.
Yeah, I can imagine all these points you've got to stack, because you guys you're getting an insight, and it's micro photography in a way. And it's like, if I'm doing landscape photography, I'll shoot for the foreground, the midground, and the infinity, and try to bring everything together. And sometimes I won't photo stack. It just depends if I want a shallow depth of field, or just to get as much as focus as possible. But it's a different world of macro. It's pretty much it is what it says. Everything is small. Everything's pretty much trying to get as much detail from the size of the picture you can want to fill your lens, and to fill the lens with such a small kind of detail image of an inset is amazing. It's absolutely amazing what you guys get. But no, I mean, one of the things as well I was going to ask you there, do you I mean, are there any alternatives to the look? For example, if you're actually doing any shots, do you feel that you'd mix it up a little bit, and do you ever try to use a bit of AI or anything like that?
No, never.
Well done. Just testing you there. You joined the club. I think we're all pretty much agreed here.
I recently had to upgrade my Lightroom, which I didn't want to. I was very happy with the workflow that I had. I think Lightroom 6, but it wouldn't support the new camera that I have, the OM1. So unfortunately, I had to upgrade. I know it has some AI features, but absolutely no interest in me at all.
Yeah, well done. It's like we're all pretty much agreed. Every person I've had on so far on doing this channel, we've had 3 photographers so far, including yourself, and we've all said the same thing, that they won't use AI. And I hope every photographer in the community stands by that, because it's going to kill us as photographers. Not so much as macro, maybe, it could as well.
No, macros at serious risk, and we already see a lot of it being used already.
Sorry, I'm just seeing the passion that David's got, because again, that I can't even mind what page it was, what hashtag page it was, but I can remember they went and won the photo of the day or the month or whatever it was, and it was AI. And I can just remember the comments underneath, the Bug Ninja and everybody, but Dave was at the top going, really? This is AI, and it was so like big letters. I was like, what are you doing? And I could remember that myself.
We don't want to see the photography community go that way. I think we're all agreed with that, regardless of what genre a photographer we're in. We don't want to see AI pretty much being manipulated in images or whatever too much. Go back to yourself. What about yourself there? Do you feel that way? I've not really asked you about that. Regards when you're actually doing your street photography, it might be a bit different with that, is it? Do you feel like you have to manipulate the image with a bit of AI technology, or just to like brush out a little bit of kind of like maybe anything that's distracting the frame of the image, just take it out?
In street?
Yeah.
No, you keep it raw.
Just wondering, I don't know if I asked you that.
And then you just edit in Lightroom. I don't go cloning things out or healing anything. I shoot what I see, end of, and then I just slightly edit. It takes like a minute to edit.
Yeah.
And if the photo's not good enough, doesn't matter how much you edit it, it's not going to be good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like getting the right conditions for the image. You all need is conditions. You don't need to add anything to it. So if I'm shooting trees,
everything in street I shoot is what you see. It's what you see, what you get.
Yeah,
The difference I do is I edit to edit to black and white to give it more contrast. But that's it, really. I don't do much with the image. It's what you see is what you get. End
Pretty
of.
much. That's what I do as well. Yeah, it's just the kind of thing that I ask everyone because I think we're all pretty much thinking about the future of photography and where it's going to go.
I think street's really important to show what you see because it's documenting
It's a
stuff.
journalist thing as well, isn't it? I mean, you're telling a
Yeah,
story, a journalist. And...
exactly. Why would you want to do something fake?
Sorry?
Why would you want something fake? We've got enough problems with fake news.
There's a few street guys I
fake
noticed.
stories.
Yeah, I've seen the guys doing like, for example, there's one guy. I'm not going to name him because it's unfair because this is a video. But he took a picture of the Royal Mile and he put like a stag in the middle of the street. And come on,
that's different there. If you do just schlock, if you do just schlock, where you do compositions,
yeah,
and you classify that as digital art. Like I've done digital art. I've created like cups and photoed myself and put myself in a cup. But that's different because what you've done is you classify as that as digital art. You don't classify it as, street photography.
Yeah, I mean, even if I put a stag into like a very ethereal looking forest when there's mist, etc., and a nice shallow depth of field, I still wouldn't put it in. I know it's art, but to me, I think
You see, I wouldn't classify that street. I'd classify that as digital art.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I might disagree with that. But saying that, I do get what you're saying. I do respect that. But to me, I think digital art is more like it could be anything from ICM to it's kind of like just doing things on Photoshop non-stop, regards to not putting in pictures or anything in it, just using colours and textures and things in abstract. But people putting stags in the middle of a cobbled road, which it looks false, it looks crap, and it's kind of tacky in a way sometimes, But regards to yourselves, I mean, I think we're all in agreement that we do shoot raw. We pretty much edit our own images, but we don't try to manipulate. I think we've all kind of used the brush to take some minimal distractions, but we don't overdo it because that's what you do in photography. I mean, I don't think there's that many people who, you could take a picture and there's something bothering you, like a bit of light, a bit of light streaking. It could be anything. It could be a twig coming into the frame. If it's something minute, then I'll take that out. What about yourself, Davey? You do that yourself?
Yeah, I mean, generally I try to not have anything like that in the actual photograph itself, but yeah.
You just frame it, you patrol your frame of your image, yeah.
Yeah, but unfortunately, shoot something that small, sometimes you don't even notice there's maybe a blade of grass or there might be just something there. But generally try and keep it to an absolute minimum in terms of editing. And as close to real life as possible. And
absolutely.
Try to get images, just how it looks.
Yeah, because I think when you're taking pictures, you Steve taking pictures in macro, is like the frame is so crucial. As in landscape, you've got like the whole terrain, the foliage of the trees, the foliage below the trees, etc. So it's quite difficult you've got to patrol the frame if there's anything that's distracting or coming into the frame. These are like the bread and butter things you do before you edit your picture. You just take away, or you try to get right in camera. I find it difficult more than you guys probably. I think you guys are pretty much more about kind of focusing on pretty much a focal point, and if there's anything coming into the image, then you guys will see it straight away. Am I right with that?
Not really. No. The plane of focus is so narrow.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about
I suppose, yeah.
1 millimeter of like focal plane, so there can be anything in that that's not going to show through the viewfinder. Because it's focus.
Well, sometimes you're sitting there and you're taking a photo, like Dave said, like a ladybird, right? And you're taking the photo and you think it looks absolutely amazing. Then you get a him and it's like, what did I do wrong there? What did I do wrong? And or did that insect come when I was taking these shots? Just sometimes it's just But for myself, David, you said you were self-taught, like me, right? And I can remember. But just as we started talking, right, I had a moment in my head, which was f-stops, right?
Yep.
How to get that f-stop further up. And then it was lighting, and then we started talking. But who was, and you didn't have to mention any names, right? I'll get it for who you're there. But who inspired you, or who did you used to look at to learn about that? Who did you speak to? Who have you became friends with to learn that off of, is what I mean, things like that.
I mean, there was a couple of guys that really, really inspired me for single shots. Frank Cannon and Cygnus were two of the big ones that when I initially started. Luke Chambers and Macro by Rory were the kind of other two. And then further on from that, I started speaking to loads of guys, get very, very friendly with Paul's Natural World, and Jamie, Tibor in America, who's one of my very favourite photographers. And then a guy from Malaysia who I ended up meeting, who had I would say a very small account, but vast in terms of the amount of species and that. Guy, Yaya, as is. Ended up meeting him just through liking his account. And what I liked about his was he's got such a variance of different insects. Everything's different, and he posts a lot. And that to me was just like really, really interesting. Everything's a single shot as well.
Yeah.
You can look at my feed week to week, and it looks different. And that's what I liked about his. But there's too many to name. But yeah, definitely big influences at the start were Brendan Cygnus Tech, Frank Cannon, it doesn't do that much anymore. Rory and Luke Chambers were the kind of big ones before.
And obviously macro lenses are used kind of for shooting up close-ups, etc. But does macro lens do a part of, apart from taking, tack sharp images of tiny subjects?
You can do portraits with them. Really
I'm actually asking questions that are mainly just for novices, guys, and I do have a list of questions. But that's why you're probably thinking.
With my macro lens during lockdown, with my macro lens, what I did for portraits, I took a crystal and I took pictures through a crystal of my daughter just to see what kind of effects I could get, and it was amazing. Some of the effects I got.
I remember them glads; they were really nice.
Yeah, it's funny though, because people probably thought that I digital edited some of it and gone, oh, let's put some paint there and there and there. But it was all the crystal. The crystal did it all for me. It's lovely.
Cool. I mean, it's like experimenting, and it's like, I'd like to do that as well. If I'm just kind of brick wall with inspiration photography, you just like to try just to do close-up shots or shoot through like mirrors and things, and done a lot of that. And in lockdown, mind you, when I went out. Some howlers of images kicking about some on my hard drive, including a cabbage leaf in my sink. But we'll get to that another time. We'll see. We won't say much about that. If you had one camera and one lens, all the regardless of what your budget is. If you can take one camera, one focal length, and one lens, and I'm going to add a filter there as well, and one filter. Where would you go? What would you shoot? And what camera and lens and filter would you use? I'll start with Glads.
A Fuji 23mm lens. My 23mm lens prime. I love the 23mm lens.
20mm.
And I would love to go to somewhere like a train journey through India or Vietnam or even Japan, taking pictures of people, culture, documenting everything.
Cool. Stevie?
That's a hard question, Paul. I mean, cameras doesn't really matter to me.
I do get what you're saying. Yeah, best cameras in your hand and all that. But if you could choose, remember what I'm saying is, if you just wanted to use it for one day and you want to get the best of, the equipment you're going to get in your hand, what would you take?
No, it'd probably be a Leica. Everybody's want to be a Leica with a nice macro lens on there, with a nice diffuser. Obviously, Cinetec's the best diffuser between AF and Cinetec.
AF,
but I would say that Cinetec's just sort of clinching it a wee bit because of the versatility of folding it, being able to fold it in the different lights and that on it. I don't have to say much because everybody that actually will probably watch this will agree, and certainly David will as well. I make mine.
What focal length would you shoot? What's your favourite focal length?
Well, it's all different with me because it's nature. So you need that reach, like a 300 or a 600 as it is for certain aspects of wildlife. And then my macro has just always got to be that 60 to 30, depending on what composition you want.
And would you use a filter? Like a CPL, just mainly just to kind of like mute the greens if there's any like highlights on, mainly it's the shiny leaves, etc. And you're trying to take away the shine from the leaves when you're shooting insects. Would you shoot with a CPL polarizer?
You can do that with your settings and that with your camera and your diffuser and the settings on your flash. You can do that. Or even if you change the lens for the 30 to the 60, and there's different ways to do it.
So your diffuser does that for you anyway, right? So I didn't know that. What about yourself, Davey?
I think I'd have to take my OM1, pretty much the top of the range Olympus camera at the moment, OM Systems camera at the moment. Yeah. And I would like to try the new 400mm 2.8 lens, which is equivalent to 800mm on a 35mm sensor. Yeah. And I'd like to try that on something like an Elan TT or something really quick.
Is that the new one, Dave? The white one?
Yeah, that's $6.5 grand. That one.
Is that the white one, David?
Yeah.
All right. Is that how much is that, David?
$6.5.
Sorry?
What
was that?
I tell you what, it's nearly as expensive as the new macro lens, pal.
Well, that's very good.
Yep, that's a good answer. Yeah. So, Glads, just going to kind of put it out there to yourself is, give a question. What thing would you like to ask us all?
What kind of? Oh my God! I feel like I've been put on the spot here.
Yeah, it's usually me. So I think it's someone else.
Oh my God! Okay, what kind of question I'd like to ask? Okay, if you weren't doing the genre you weren't doing, what other genre would you do?
Who to? Who we want to first? Who you want to ask first?
We're not Stevie. No, David first. Is it David first, and then Stevie, and then you?
Go.
I mean, I think if I wasn't doing macro, I'd have stuck to the type of photography that I was doing previously. I was out in the mountains of Scotland and taking landscape, so I think I'd have probably stuck to that.
Nice. Whereabouts in Scotland did you go to?
Everywhere. I've done like 100.
Much for Glencoe, the usual shots, nice ones up that way. Are you going to be across the sky, Davey?
Yes, I have. I've been over there, done Blavade.
Nice. Yeah.
I was there two years ago. Done a bit photography, so but I mostly did macro. So.
Yeah.
I did a couple of landscape shots, but it doesn't excite me anymore, unfortunately. Whereas finding a new species does.
I'll see what you get from it. It's like my passion as well when I left street photography. Much as I loved it, and I still do love watching other people's stuff like Glads, etc. But once I got into woodlands, I started to learn about trees as well. We just photographing them. I started taking an interest about trees as well. Yep. My mates are like, but I love it. Sorry, I'll digress. You've asked your question, Stevie. You go next. Glads, sorry for taking over there.
For me, the photographer we spoke to, because anybody that kens me kens I'm a people person. Where sometimes I just don't like people. I would say I would probably like what the young man was saying last week. Was before you take the photo in street photography, is actually get the story of the person before you take that, so you can interact with them. Because I know that a lot of street photography is actually shot candid, boom, maybe away for a distance or straight through a window or that, but I prefer face to face.
So you would prefer street portraits?
Yeah. I think so. Portrait, but natural light.
Yeah, street portrait. Yeah, that's quite
I like
cool.
natural light. Yeah.
You can you've got so many things going in your head because you've got your lighting and that flicking about all the time. So, yeah, I think that would be a nice wee challenge. But I'm just looking forward to seeing what's next for macro and from a wildlife photography.
So, guys, we've just been talking about different other things on the channel, just to get a bit of difference. But yeah, I don't know how much this is going to be edited out. But anyway, I'll keep that in what I said. What are you laughing at?
No, I'm just laughing.
Yeah. Okay. You're not wearing your sweatpants again, are you?
I am. Jogging pants it is over here, pal.
Yeah, it's just when you say sweatpants, I'm thinking something like hot pants.
I'm spinning around with my dog.
I've not got my hot pants on. No, my gold hot pants. No, nobody wants to see that.
That's plenty. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, just where do we go from that one? How do we follow that one up for the conversation?
I don't know.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, one of the things I wanted to ask David is, so when you're actually, the type of insects you actually shoot. I mean, obviously, the actual prize one is spiders and things like that. Quite tricky, and obviously the patience you've got. I mean, how much preparation goes into it. I can imagine that you've got a good idea of the location you want to go to, the type of moisture, and if it's on trees or whatever, they're going to live, and how much is into that regards to preparation?
Well, I would say, unlike most macro photographers out there, I do not do any preparation whatsoever.
Nice.
I go out and whatever I come across, I will shoot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's slightly different from the way that some people do it. They'll look up specific locations for specific species and go there to capture that. Right. I will literally look anywhere, especially in sort of urban environments, which is not your usual macro photography area. So I shoot a lot, and you'll probably see my photos, a lot of man-made, a lot of man-made backgrounds, etc.
Yep.
And that's me just not moving things to get like a more interesting, colourful shot. So I do shoot a lot on metal fences, but that's part of my style is to shoot urban, just where I find things. So I will literally shoot anything I come across at any moment.
That's cool. I mean,
no prep.
You're quite candid how you say that as well. You're just straightforward. You just you don't try to hide anything.
No, there's no point.
No, definitely not. Especially your post processing as well. Especially Stevie said the same thing in regards to how you guys post process. Yeah, I mean, I think looking at my situation, I kind of go by the weather. It dictates, as you know, as a landscape photographer, you used to be yourself, or still a landscape photographer. Everything's dictated by the weather, and getting up in the morning certain times, etc. With macro, do you feel that there's anything that, say, if a novice is going to, maybe it will give them help to go at a certain time, or of day, etc., to get insects?
Yeah,
and it's not just the same as daylight when you can see them, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, so that was a mistake. No, I wouldn't say it's a mistake. For the first 2 and a bit years, I only shot during the day. I didn't go early morning. I didn't go at night. One of my good friends, Brendan, kept saying to me, "You need to go out at night. You got to get a torch." Blah blah.
I
didn't think we'd get anything here, admittedly, because he would go to his back garden in Oz and send me thousands of different things within a couple of minutes. But when I started to do that, there's basically pollinators during the day, predators at night, and everything's really still at night or very early in the morning. And I didn't do that for the first couple of years, so I played it in hard mode for the first while. So I'd say start now, go really, really early in the morning, because you get things sleeping, bees sleeping on a flower, and you can actually get close to them. You can hold the stalk in your hand, position the camera there, so you're not moving both, etc. And it's just a lot easier.
Have you ever took photos of a beehive with the bees working in?
I took a photo of a bee. Well, I tried to take a photo of a beehive in France, and I think that's why I got stung. But it's paper wasps in a hive. But no, standard bees.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it must be quite tricky as well when you're doing that kind of photography. And in regards to the insects, of course you've gone to different countries as well. Do you do like reading up on insects in regards to, I'm not saying insects that are venomous or anything, but do you do a preparation in regards to knowing where you're going to, the environment, and making sure you're well protected, etc.?
No.
No.
Not that. No, I kind of just like to just get out there. When I went to Malaysia, I had investigated some of the insects I really wanted to see. So there's the I don't know if you've seen the spider with the long horns. There's a weevil that I put up yesterday or today.
Yeah.
There's a few species that I really, really wanted to see. I managed to get almost everything that I had on the list within that very short space of time, which was very surprising. But no, I didn't prepare as probably good as I should have. But I just get out there, just fight.
It's all experience, isn't it? I mean, at the end of the day, you're going to other countries and etc., which is good as a photographer. I mean, most of us don't get out of the UK.
Yeah.
I mean, not only pro mates are actually, stay in the UK and just shoot landscape. I mean, I sell images in a gallery. I did used to, and I just mainly do workshops for woodland photography just now. And I find it very tough to just mainly just get to sell anything really, just to regards to get yourself noticed, etc. But in regards to learning things in photography, also macro photography is completely different kind of ball game. But yourself, are you looking to just get yourself out there in regards to doing workshops or anything yourself? I mean, because
yeah, so I have signed up to do quite a few workshops. I think the next
all right,
one's
cool, yep.
December, and I've got a good few next year. From a sort of personal perspective, I just enjoy getting away, especially with the guys that I know, and just getting away and shooting. That's the enjoyable part for myself.
Good.
I'm trying to create a couple of other opportunities, which have started to come in, especially through like TV, etc.
Yeah.
But I just want to advocate. I think overall, becoming a bigger genre, it means that there's a bigger focus and more opportunity for everyone in the macro community, the bigger the macro gets. And I can see that that's started to happen.
Mm-hmm.
The opportunities are presented to some of the guys and some of the things the guys are getting now compared to maybe that wouldn't have happened 4 years ago. I think that's because it's a collective, everyone's getting out there. So it might become as big as some of the other types of wildlife photography and as well respected. And I do think it's getting that way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you've ever been frustrated? There's any time you've actually went out and you kind of all plan things, not to the point you have to plan it just to get a picture to work, so of course, but trips, etc. Is there anything you felt frustrated that you've turned up to a location and you're not getting what come from?
Yeah, I mean, this year I went to France. It's the same location I went to the previous year.
Oh yeah.
Roughly about the same time. Thinking, right, it's going to be the exact same. When I arrived, because of the heat wave, there was practically no foliage. Rivers had dried up. There was not as many insects as previously. I did get a fair few, but nowhere near the volume or the variety that I actually expected. And I was there to photograph some ruby-tailed wasps, which the previous year I'd seen loads of, didn't get close to them. So that was the main kind of species that I wanted to photograph. Didn't get any. And then came back here, went across to the park with 7% of my camera. Started to walk back as soon as I seen that I only had that, and I seen a ruby-tail, and I'm like, oh my god. So the only one I've seen here, and I managed to stack it, which was great.
In Scotland.
I went down to 1% for the time finished. So unreal.
And the other thing I was going to ask you as well, because there's going to be a lot of people watching this, and especially macro photographers, and I've noticed since I started this channel and Clickcast regards to Instagram, that is, there's a lot of macro photographers and street photographers since I've had these guys on, a whole lot of you, 40 of you, especially with yourself, of course, David. Would you, is there anything you want to put out there regards to your workshops or anything for people who are interested?
Nothing that I need to plug at the moment, I would say. There is a few things that I've got in the pipeline that certainly will be coming up in the next year.
Just watch your space.
Yeah, just watch your space.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that's good. I mean, it's that's something I like to do as well. Just try to promote people's work. because we're trying to get, people as up and coming photographers as well as established photographers, and I think your work establishes itself. You do the talking with your pictures, and as that speaks volumes, as I said before. Yeah, Glads. I mean, just thinking. I mean, one of the things do you ever feel that? Have you ever felt that basically when you listen to these guys that are coming on over the last 3 weeks we've been listening to, do you ever feel you're taking something from that interview as regards to learning something new? I do.
Yes, because with Callum, what I loved with Callum was the fact that he was really into film and animation, and I found it quite fascinating. And it was interesting to see that it wasn't just about photography. He's quite artistic generally with creating his own sculptures and everything. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And obviously with this gentleman with the macro, it kind of makes me want to really now think about shooting wildlife and going out doing a bit of wildlife. I mean, the other thing I'd like to do actually is take pictures of babies being born, which sounds really bizarre, but I just think it's such a beautiful thing,
Yeah, well, I think we're influenced by people in the case that someone could be talking about macro photography, but we still can get influenced regards to, you're saying wildlife there because of foxes, but the notion of it doesn't, that's a catalyst for you to do that. Stevie, what about yourself? Have you taken anything from tonight, or maybe just from regards to the last few people we've had on?
I always take everything for every person that we've actually done it. Callum last week was, his ideas of how he likes to actually speak to people, meet them. Dylan with him being actually like putting himself out there, and how he's put another 2 or 3 videos out since we've done it, just to try and inspire people and just show people how it is. He's brilliant. And then you've got Dave this week, how he can show your drive and passion can get you anywhere.
Yeah. They've all been good, and I've really enjoyed tonight. And just the questions we've kind of went through tonight, we could ask a bit more. I would like to invite David again back to the programme. We're going to get other photographers on, David, and we probably do some loose chat, etc. Would you be interested to come on at some point?
Absolutely.
Great stuff, excellent. That's preferred. That's 3 people have said yes now, so that's good. So we're going to pretty much try to get. There's a couple of people got in the pipeline, and if one of them, if one pulls off, it's going to be a good one for ourselves to get members to our site. We're pretty much down the bane, kind of like the bare essentials of members, as you see, for our channel. I kind of came up with the idea of doing this channel just to get people's voices heard and get the community of Facebook, Instagram heard, etc. And there's a lot of talented photographers out there, as opposed to people on YouTube who do videos who are not so good sometimes. They're not all great, but there's guys out there who maybe don't want to do YouTube or anything like that. I think these guys need a voice to be heard, including yourself. Your work's really good. So the idea is we'll get people on, and I will ask our previous guys who came on to the programme to come on and join us that night, and then we will ask questions to the person. David, thank you. And I was going to put some images up as we were talking through the night. You'll see some images will be coming up as we speak. And yeah, just has you guys got any questions before we go? I'm sure.
I just want to say one thing as well. I think what I also like is the stories as well. It's not just about photography.
Yeah.
Like, for example, what I loved about Dylan was the fact, he uses photography in the most constructive way. And the fact that he's he's grown with it. I think that's brilliant, But I think each person has their own story, don't they?
Yeah. I think many things as well is like, when everyone we've had on is so passionate, I've never had we've not had anyone on. It's like, I'm, quite not humble, but very not patronising, but there's sometimes you can talk to people in photography community, they can be that way, unfortunately. Everyone's been down to earth, especially David, and I like the idea of everyone that's been on, they've always had the same kind of way of doing things. Like, I do it my way. I don't bother about trying to get as many people liking my work. I just love what I do. It's a passion, and that's the kind of female we're getting, the people we're getting on, is people are quietly confident, as opposed to people trying to, I'll say it, being a smart arse, etc. Let's face it, there's a lot of that in the photography community, unfortunately. Generally, the photography community is great. We all look after each other, but there is a few people who are prima donnas, etc. in it. But guys, it's been great. I just want to say a couple of things. Stevie, yourself, do you have any questions for David before we go?
No, just want him to finish off if he's got anything to say.
What I would say is if there's anyone watching this that does want to take up macro after it, I'm always available on Instagram. So if you message me, I will help as much as possible. I always try and message everyone back that ever reaches out.
Great.
Task in itself, but I certainly will get back to you.
And he
David,
does.
David, can I ask you a question? What tips would you give for someone who wants to start out in macro?
What? Sorry?
Tips.
Tips?
Yeah, tips and hints.
It depends what they're using, so I'll have to establish what equipment they've already got, and then I would guide them through sort of next stages to take it to the next level. I'd go through different settings, lighting setups, etc., and give them tips on how to stabilise, blah, blah, blah. But I would establish how far along they were in terms of are they extreme amateur or are they someone just wanting to improve in the quality that they've already done.
Yeah.
That's great, thank you.
And what we'll do as well, David, is we'll put your Instagram across the screen. Like you've probably seen other videos we've done. We put a big banner up with your Insta handle. Where else can we find you? I mean, you've got a website, haven't you?
No, I mean I've got a Facebook group which is called Mad Beasties as well.
Oh, cool.
Predominantly, I use Instagram.
Right. Okay. I will get the link on that as well, guys, for you to click down below this video. Click onto that if you can. It'll be great because you'll learn quite a lot about macro photography and see some great images as well. I'm sure you've enjoyed it as much as we have. Stevie, Glads, David, thank you. David, thanks again for your time there. It's been a pleasure having you. Please come back on the channel again, would you say, yeah?
Yeah, happy to come back.
Good man, thank you, I appreciate that. Stevie, Glads, thanks again for your time. Guys, thanks again for watching. Thanks again for putting up my crap. And thanks again for listening to these people talk. Enjoy and have a good night. Thanks again, guys.
Thanks again. Bye.
All the best. See you later.
Nice to meet you, David, anyway. You're brilliant.
It's good. Great to meet you. Yeah.
And Stevie, where's Stevie as well? Bye, Stevie.
Bye.
And bye, Paul.
Bye.